Janelle Burke from Howard University. Dr. Janelle Burke is a professor of biology and currently serves as the interim chair of the Department of Earth and Environment Equity, which I'm a member of right now. Very excited about that. Trained as a botanist, her research expertise is in plant evolution and diversity. She has discovered 14 new species of plants and has 2 plant species named in her honor. At Howard University, she has served in the leadership role in development and to develop and grow the environmental studies and science program, which was launched in 2016. She has also been instrumental in securing multiple grants and partnerships to support this program. And its associated student opportunities. She has a passion for developing innovative, interdisciplinary curriculum that prepare HBCU students for leadership roles in environmental and sustainable careers. Without further ado, Dr. Janelle Burke. Wow, the crowd goes wild.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your engagement up to this point in this workshop and your time on a Saturday. It's a beautiful day, so I hope at least it is here in Washington, D.C. So I hope everyone has time to interact with the environment in safe ways, free of toxins and burden. So I am going to launch a poll. So we've heard a lot from our speakers about the justice framework and rethinking the pedagogical framework about our careers and our technical training. And what's really nice about this space, and this is a larger webinar, so you've heard some perspectives from attendees from law, from history, from environmental science. But what's nice about this space is the attendees span from Howard and Drexel across professional programs, undergraduate programs, from the arts, from design, from science and STEM. And this is really the future, not just the future of education, but the future of workforce development and meeting these grand challenges is multidisciplinary teams, right? And interdisciplinary collaboration. And that's also visualized here on our planning team, who you've seen probably our little boxes as we've been going through this. So I'd like to wrap up and kind of bring back some of the information about our sponsor and looking at where we can get reliable information about clean energy and about renewable energy and efficiency. All right, I'm going to end the poll. All right, can you all see this? It has your information, so. All right, yeah, Lakin, let me get you to unmute. Go ahead. Lakin, go ahead, please. Well, go ahead and ask your question when you are able.
Dr. Burke, you're muted.
Thank you. Our partner for our sponsor for this talk for this workshop is the Department of Energy, specifically the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. And part of democratizing energy is also helping to inform not just you all in institutional spaces, but also the community about reliable information, opportunities for funding, and opportunities for workforce development. So in particular, I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of key websites that are important for workforce development and this clean energy transition. So the first is the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. Now, this is what the website looks like under the current Biden-Harris administration, but the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy has existed for decades. So this is not an office that is a political office. This is an office that's addressing energy needs at the national scale and investing in key areas where we need for workforce development to help with our just transition, but also with energy efficiency. So you can see here, this is just the home page, and they have information about radio buttons right here about clean energy and funding opportunities for the community. So this is a good source for you, and also a good source for your neighbors and your community members to know where currently is the Department of Energy investing and what are their priorities. So what is clean energy? So as defined by the Department of Energy, this is renewable energy resources available on affordable, reliable, and sustainable US power supply, right? And this is a national interest. It's important for communities, but it's also important to have something reliable and resilient across our country, while also reducing the country's greenhouse gas emissions, right? So that's the clean part of our energy. We can harness abundant domestic resources, including wind energy, solar energy, bioenergy, geothermal energy, hydropower, and marine energy to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. About 20% of all US electricity now comes from renewable energy sources. So this is where we are right now. Raise your hand if you knew that 20% of all US electricity, and this is of 2023, now comes from renewable energy sources. Nice, got one thumbs up, and this has been going up. And again, I want to put the references here because this is where when we're looking about where you can find the dashboard to see how investment and how changes in our energy generation is changing across this country. Another site I want to draw your attention to is the National Renewable Energy Lab, or NREL, and that's based in Golden, Colorado. This is just one of the national labs under the purview and funded by the Department of Energy. It's operated by a couple different organizers, such as Battelle, but the funding comes from the Department of Energy, and they help coordinate this award for this workshop, and they also provide a lot of important tools and dashboards for data. And this also is important for investment in our technology. For example, say you're interested in insulation. What needs do we currently have in insulation? What needs do we currently have in batteries? And you can go through here alphabetically, or you can search and go through these dashboards to see what are our precise needs, and the dashboards as well. So in 2023, about 4,178 billion kilowatt hours, and that's how energy generation is measured, were generated at utility scale electricity generation facilities. And this, again, is from that dashboard that I had shown you previously that had the 20% energy information. All right. And then the last website that I wanted to show you for today is a really important resource. It's called EJ Screen. And this is helping for us to see how we have sorry, give me a minute here. I'm running the Zoom and presenting. How we have the intersection of our data about community risks and the exposure to different communities has been precisely defined. And this tool has been upgraded over the years, especially under the Biden-Harris administration, and it's really interactive. It allows for accessibility both through the portal, which you can see here through the QR code, and then also you're able to download the data. And you can precisely identify disadvantaged tracts or groups of people by census tract. And you can see here on the left, You can filter by different types of environmental hazards or exposures, such as particulate matter, ozone, nitrogen dioxide. And again, the Department of Energy and the EPA have invested and put resources towards making these data more accessible and more user-friendly, which is really important because just having the data isn't necessarily helpful unless it can be utilized and accessed, is an easy way for someone who doesn't have technical training. So just as a quick overview, the current major fossil fuel sources are coal, petroleum, natural gas, methane. What are some of what we call renewable or alternative energy sources? And what are the ones where we have the biggest investment right now by the Department of Energy? And those would be solar, wind, and biofuels. At a national scale, and we're looking at about 7 to 8 years ago at this point, 80% of energy consumption was from fossil fuel entities. So we are currently undergoing an active transition. And what this call is about and what these series of workshops are about is how does that look just? How does that really make sure that individuals who have been historically disenfranchised or historically been exposed to a lot of the effects of the detrimental effects of fossil fuels are part of the workforce development and part of the benefits of this transition we're undergoing right now, which is rather rapid. So here's just one example of these data, and this is from that National Renewable Energy Lab that I had talked about. And you can see here we have extremely rapid growth of investment of wind generation from non-hydro renewable sources, and wind in the previous decade was the fastest growing. And what's one of the main drivers of that change? It's the cost. It's the cost per kilowatt hour, which is this kWh here. So you can see as the cost of investing in turbines and installing turbines has gone down, the cumulative capacity that we're able to generate has gone up. So there's that critical investment in technology that comes along with our switch to an investment into these renewable energies. And you can see the same thing here where this investment has changed over time, but overall how we're investing in wind turbines as well across our 50 states and including US territories. The same thing goes for when we looking at electric vehicles and electric scooters and other modes of transportation as well. The decrease in battery costs and that technology investment, and we can see the reverse effect and the cumulative increase then in the electric vehicle sales as those costs decrease. We can say see this is almost exponential if we're looking at plug-in vehicle sales in the United States. If you all are based in DC, the DMV area, I'm sure you see a lot of Teslas, you see a lot of other electric vehicles. There's many electric scooters, electric bicycles. Even in the past 5 years, is visible the difference in the amount of electrical vehicles we've seen at least in our urban areas. Another change, this is related to energy efficiency, which is also under this Office of Renewable Energy, for example, is lighting, right? So now we can't even buy incandescent light bulbs. There's a switch to LED, which draw a lot less electricity. And we can see again that this rapid decrease in cost of LED A types that has gone down the previous decade has led to much more installations and investment in this more energy efficient technology. So some of these technologies are more clean. And of course, though, there's obstacles to implementation, and there's obstacles to implementation for this across all communities, right? What are some obstacles? Cost, technology, and potentially the inefficiency of some of these technologies as well without increased investment in technology. So with that, I will stop there, and I'd love to hear from you all if you have any questions. Thank you. Or comments. Could you send the link of the resources, please? Yes. And also, I have a list of attendees and we can send that out after the webinar as well.
Hi, Dr. Burke. This is Dee. We know each other. I'm one of the organizers. Just wanted to say that I haven't actually played with that EJ screen tool or looked at that EJ screen tool too much. And I just think it's a really, really powerful, really interesting. And I literally put in the address of where I work and just started scrolling through the different possible bits of information that you can look at. And I'm an architect, so for me it's super interesting to see. So I want to thank you for all of those resources. Some of your colleagues are finding them interesting as well. Just wanted to say that. We do have a couple of questions in the chat. I think we have Darby asked, outside of gathering knowledge, in what ways can the average person continue to be aware of their energy consumption and the kinds of energy they are using? Did you already answer that question? I don't know if you did or not.
No, not at all. Not directly. So thank you for that question, Darby. So a couple of things, there's smaller scale and there's larger scale, depending on what you want to look at. So an energy audit, either for a private residence or for a small business, are possible. And sometimes there's nonprofits in individual cities that can help support this type of audit to increase energy efficiency. In addition, on a smaller scale, potentially you could be looking at, instead of doing a complete energy audit, with the increase of smart devices, it's also easier to be able to look at energy or water consumption on an individual level. So for example, looking at your thermostat and tracking that, or looking at a water usage, or using a water meter. There's now a tracker you can install around your house to see if there's leaks, for example. So different smart technologies are tied with apps that can track your electricity consumption as well. It just depends on how they're installed.
Great. And Josephine asks, what is the relationship between the environment and capitalism? How do you think this rapid switch to green energy will affect the overall economy of the United States?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? If not the question.
Yeah.
The environment and capitalism. So I guess it depends on how we define the environment. But capitalism is largely extractive. We as humans are also largely extractive. We can live in a more balanced relationship with the natural environment, but at any level, even if we live more sustainably, we're always going to extract for food and energy, right? So given a capitalist framework that we're living in and this transition through our structure for the Department of Energy, I think it's best that we are interrogating and aligned with making that as equitable as possible. So we're as inclusive with people who don't just come to the table with the most dollars to invest, but we make sure we include the people of the most to lose, right? How do we do that? There's not one answer. This workshop is part of one series of education, mobilizing more dollars that go directly to community members and to nonprofits, I think can also help to break that cycle potentially of how the transition that we have can be more evenly distributed. I hope that's a good short answer to a very complex question.
Yeah, that's a great question. That was Josephine that asked that. And Kai just asked, do you think that universities and educational institutions should look to become better leaders in clean energy consumption?
Absolutely. Do you, Kai? I mean, I hope we can. So I am proud to announce Howard University just joined an organization called Second Nature. And Second Nature, what they do is actually work with specifically with institutions of higher education on meeting certain clean energy goals and campus sustainability, both academic programs and also facilities. I think it's vital actually that we are practice what we preach, right? So that our campuses, which often have large footprints, do model some of these inclusive practices, right? And we bring in community members when we're looking at our education and also looking at how we utilize our facilities.
That's great. And I actually just got an email from a colleague about a similar thing called campus nature prescription, or RX. And I think a group of us at Drexel are looking at how could we be part of that network. So I think it's definitely something that at least at the sort of professor and research level, we're definitely like thinking about how do we build, how do we build those networks, and how do we get students involved? So it's really, really great to hear about that, Dr. Burke. Just looking to see if there's any more questions in the chat. One question that actually I think I kind of answered and maybe accidentally dismissed was, can you send the links? And I would assume that we're going to somehow share not only the slides, but there's also going to be some learning resources that come out of this. So keep your emails, keep track of your emails on this, because there's going to be more coming. And so are there any more questions for Dr. Burke? What's it like to discover a plant? I have a question. What's it like to discover a plant? That's got to be so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what's really important as well. There's still thousands, if not millions, of species that we haven't described.
Yeah.
So I just worked on one group of plants in one area in the Andes collaboratively with the New York Botanical Garden, and just working in that one area in over 2 years, we discovered 14 new species just within that one genus. So it's just it's fun, right? So, but you also, it's, I mean, technical, usually training in one particular taxonomic area, but it's just indicative in general of the amount of biodiversity that hasn't even been documented yet, and underscores the need, right, for protection.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Burke, I want to thank you. This is